We're back out here at the Big Lake once again, and today we're talking about my favorite fall fishing technique, the technique that has caught so many fish for me over the years, and one that I can't wait to get back to every year. And spoiler alert, it's not a jerkbait. Stick around, you don't want to miss this one. I thought I just got a hit. I got him. Let me turn this off. Oh, that feels pretty okay too. Stand up, Rinks. That one's not bad, kids. That's a good fish. That's a good sized fish. There we go. And here is this video's featured comment. Congratulations! If you would like to have a chance to have your comment featured in an upcoming video, all you've got to do is leave a comment. And now, on with the video. Welcome back to lowbrow fishing, and oh, what a difference just a couple of days can make, right? Last few times we were out here, it has been really, really cold. We've had lows down in the 40s and highs just in the low 60s. It's been gloomy, it's been rainy, it's been really terrible weather, and now, well, it's in the 80s currently. We've got some sun, we've got a little bit of wind. This is more with what we normally have. This is more in line with that. This is our normal for this time of year. And well, that doesn't mean that that water isn't still cold. It is. It has cooled off quite a bit. So I still have to alter how I'm fishing it. But those fish, they're beginning to feel more natural. They're beginning to acclimate to what's going on, and they have opened up a little bit. They're not nearly as stingy. So I'm able to have more success on the water. I'm not having to fight it as much as I normally do. And, the fall transition can get back to being a lot of fun. Now, when I first came out here today, I fished all along that north bank, just like I'm telling you guys. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm not blowing smoke. I'm not faking things. What I'm talking about is exactly the techniques that I'm doing. So that north bank back there, that's what was getting sun. So that's where I started fishing this morning. I started working with a fluke, and well, in just a couple of minutes, it didn't take very long at all. It might have been the second or third cast. I ended up catching half-pound, three-quarter-pound dink. And that was information. That was great. Not only did it get the skunk out of the boat really quickly, but it also told me, hey, I'm on the right track. Now, even though those fish were a lot more active, they were still very cold. So I wasn't going to be burning any crankbaits today. And that's fine, because that's not what I wanted to do. And, another presentation, and there's nothing wrong with this, right? Good old wacky rig. This is a sweet potato shimmy stick by Strike King, and you can see that it's beat up pretty bad because, well, this thing did a good bit of work for me today as well. Nope, I'm not going to be able to. I thought I just got a hit. I got him. Let me turn this off. Oh, that feels pretty okay too. Stand up, Rinks. That one's not bad, kids. That's a good fish. That's a good sized fish. There we go. Oh, that's a beautiful fish. Oh, and he choked it. Oh, no, he didn't. Good. I was afraid he did. On the wacky rig. All right. That's kind of what we knew. All right. We really appreciate that fish. Gorgeous pound and a half on the wacky rigged worm. Thank you, dude. And those fish that I caught, well, I had only been here just a few minutes, and I had already been on multiple fish. I knew it was going to be a good day. So anytime I can see the activity is right, that things are starting to line up, and that those bass have gotten into their fall mood, that they've made that move from summer all the way into fall, and they've acclimated, at least in this lake and in various lakes around the country, it will happen. They will get acclimated and they will settle down, and the fishing will just be phenomenal. So I start fishing my favorite presentation that I fish all year long. And if you're a friend of the channel, if you've been here for, I don't know, a year and a half or more, you already know what it is, because if lowbrow is anything, I'm consistent and I'm stubborn. And that is, well, a jig, but not just any jig. We've got a little bitsy flip right here. This is, a little 1/4 ounce jig. This is the heavier duty version. And I've just got a little rage grub on the tail of it, And because the water was stained and we had a good bout of some cloudier water and some cloudier skies, I went with the black. It stood out good. It was a good, bold contrast in that water. And it's something that I like to fish in the fall. A black jig or an orange jig. Those are the colors that I'm primarily going to be reaching for, and a brown trailer or a black blue flake trailer or a black trailer. And I'm not looking for something that's got a lot of kick, a lot of flap. Now you've got this rage grub here, this little Rage Menace grub. And yes, it does have some flap to it, but not nearly something like a Rage Crawl or a Christie Crawl or something like that. Now, the water's still warm enough where I'm not going to go with something with like a chunk style trailer, not yet. That's going to be more as we move on into the wintertime, and I just want a dead, kind of wobble as we go, not a kick, That's more for when the water gets really cold. But for right now, this was the game changer today. This was the ace up my sleeve, the ace in the hole, whatever you want to call it. And I love, love, love fishing a jig. He was kind of mad at me. Oh, I got him. Oh, come on, you. Oh, that feels pretty good. Stay down. Oh, that feels pretty good. There we go. On the jig. Oops. Trying to tell a story, fish. I was trying to tell a story and you interrupted me. Another 1.5 pounds. All right. Yeah, not bad one. He's actually got a good belly on him. Nice 1.25 pounds. Not 1.5 pounds, but over a pound, between 1.25 pounds, somewhere in there. Anyway, beautiful fish. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. So you see what I'm fishing it on, right? This is not a surprise. This is my normal 30-pound braid. I've got a 17-pound fluorocarbon leader, and this little bobber stop here, I always keep this. Well, actually it's a weight stop, but I always keep one of these on just in case I switch this out to a Texas rig and I want to have that on there already. Because once you get them on, they're on. You take them off, you can't really use them anymore. You can, but it's just easier to keep the thing on there. But this was the setup that I had today. This is a 7.1-to-1 gear ratio reel. It's a little bit faster than the old Silver Max, but we're getting acquainted with each other. I've gotten to where I can trust this reel and I'm comfortable with this reel, and it was doing really great work for me today. So if you're not into fishing a jig and you've never really been comfortable, fishing a jig, I'm telling you, now is the time of year that you really ought to start. You should actually select the fall, the middle and the late part of the fall to get comfortable with these. It's a slower fishing technique. Those bass are in a slower mood. And trust me, you will not be disappointed. Fishing a jig, you always catch bigger fish. I don't ever really catch dinks when I'm fishing a jig. And ask anybody who knows me. I'm just an old jig fisherman, right? It's what I grew up doing. It's what I know how to do. And it's what I'm most comfortable with. And I'm telling you what, right now, this time of year, learn how to fish with a jig and you will not be disappointed. And I really don't see other guys out on the lake doing that. I don't see them fishing a jig, even though this should be one of the primary things that they have tied on. Slow drag it right along the bottom, work it right along the edges of those, shade lines, but in the sunny side. You know what? I got a better idea. Let's go out on the water and I'll show you just exactly how I'm casting this and exactly how I'm working this. All right, well, got this little black bitsy flip jig here, right? I've got a little Rage Grub trailer. That's what I settled on. You see just got it on my normal jig setup. And what I'm doing here is I'm looking for targets along the bank. If I can find a sunny spot, I'm going to cast to that area first. And I'm not actually crowding the bank. I'm actually staying off of it just a little bit. And I'm just kind of dragging it a little bit, dragging it downhill. You know, just dragging it downhill. If I feel a little snag, I'll pull it through it. But for the most part, it comes pretty cleanly through there, and that's all I'm doing. You know, I'm not doing it on super taut line. Just kind of sweeping it to the side and then reeling down the slack. You know, and I'm not even going all the way back to the boat. Making a good cast all the way out there. Again, not right up against the bank, but pretty close to it. And just kind of sweeping to the side. If I feel gunk, I'll start doing like this. You know, if I got a lot of grass, I come up with it like that. And then reel back down. And then come back up with it like that. And that will come over that vegetation a lot better than a side sweep. You'll still get gunks and you'll still have to pop it through. But that's essentially, you know, fishing a jig in the fall. It's not that hard. Right there along that shade line, you know, trying to keep it in the sun. And just kind of pulling it back to me. And just pulling it back to me. And once that rod gets up, I reel it back down. And I kind of just do it like that. Nice and slow. We're not getting in any hurry. You know, we can do a little bit to the side, a little bit to the side, and then reel it back down, and then a little bit to the side, and then reel it back down. And then, you know, we get it about, I don't know, a third, a half of the way back to the boat. We'll go ahead and reel it back in. We're going to let it sink, and again, I'm going to do a side sweep. Okay, well that's got grass, that feels vegetation, so I'm going to start picking it up like this. Because that'll come up over that vegetation and I won't get, you know, snagged on it nearly as much. So fishing a jig really is not that complicated. Very simple. Cast it out there, drag it back to you, either to the side or over the top. The hardest part is being able to detect a bite. That's where I'm finding that most people, that's where they fail, right? They can't tell the difference between a bite or a piece of gunk or whatever. They just don't feel anything at all. But you can learn to feel the difference. I mean, if you're a line watcher like me and you see your line moving off, well, that's usually a pretty good indication to reel down and set that hook with some gusto. Don't play around, reel down, set that hook with gusto, and we're coming up with it. We're not going to the side, we're going up with it. Drive that hook home. Now, another thing is you can feel that bump, 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 bump of a fish taking that bait. If you hit a piece of hydrilla, you hit a piece of vegetation, it's going to feel like a solid drag, you know, and then you pop it free. But a fish is bump, 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 and you feel that resistance. So you get to learn the differences between what different things feel like underwater. And if you watched my video last year, you will know that as you're fishing a jig, you're making a mental map of that bottom composition around you. A jig is a great way to map the bottom when you don't have any electronics on your boat. I do it all the time. I make a mental note. Oh, there was a clump of vegetation. Oh, over there, that felt like a log. You know, oh, that felt kind of like it was open bottom, but it didn't feel like it was real hard. And you make that mental note. So you might not have an exact, you know, radar picture of it, but you've got a really good indication. You can tell time and time again. Next time you go to, you know, fish that area, it's like, okay, I'm gonna run into the vegetation over there, and that actually tells you where those fish are going to be set up. So you've got a clump of vegetation, you've got an underwater log, you know, underwater laydown, and the sun is beating down in that area. You know, that's going to be a good place to try, especially during the fall, and that's why fishing a jig is so vital in the fall. It teaches you what a bite feels like. It teaches you what a snag feels like. You know, you feel the difference between what a fish feels like and what a fish doesn't feel like. You also are matching that fish's activity level Dragging a jig, slowly dragging a jig, is more in line with what a fish is going to be looking for given their energy level as that water gets colder. And you are able to make a mental map of what the bottom composition is. It's almost like having, 360 or sonar of some sort, because you can drag that jig and you can feel the bottom composition. So don't be afraid. Tie a jig on, and I bet you'll have great results. So there you have it. Those fish have slowed down, and you need to slow your presentation down as well to match them. And you want to pick apart specific targets, and you want to do so thoroughly and surgically. Well, that to me sounds like a perfect recipe for some great jig fishing. And me, I'm just an old jig angler from way back, so I'm very comfortable doing it. And right now in the fall, if you are not comfortable fishing a jig, this is the time that you want to do it. Your patience will be rewarded. Start with something small, a little 1/4 ounce or 3 ounce jig. Don't get fancy with it. Don't get cutesy with it. Throw it out, drag it back to you. And I'm telling you, your patience will be rewarded, especially this time of year. And once you get that feeling, you're going to be like me, and that jig rod is going to be very, very hard to take out of your hands. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.